Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Voices for Change 2.0, the only podcast that focuses on mental health while mixing in movies, music, books, sports, and pop culture. Here are your hosts, Rebecca and Joe Lombardo.
Hey guys, this is producer Scott. We have both Rebecca and Joe and Jay on the line. Seems like we're having audio issues with Rebecca and Joe, even though we just heard from them. Give us 1 second. I'm going to play a quick song and we'll come right back. Appreciate you being part of Voices for Change 2.0. This is Blake MacGyver with Start to Believe.
Staring down that long and winding road, I felt like I could never start again. Flipping through the pages of my broken life, just remembering when before I was yours, I just stumbled through my feeble lives, but now you bring me all I could ask for. You give me all that I need, and baby, you've gathered the pieces. Maybe I'll start to believe. Ooh, shana, ooh, shana, ooh, shana, ooh, shana, ooh, shana, ooh, shana. Looking up that mountain top, I said, how do we begin to climb? Wishing I could speed right through to all the joy, just manipulate time. But now I am yours, so I'll stop wandering through those feeble lies, 'cause now you bring me all I could ask for. Give me all that I need, and baby, you gather the pieces. Maybe I'll start to believe. I guess I'll start to believe. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start to believe. And though my doubts close in, I know that you'll be there. I won't despair, my dream come true. Who knew? Baby, it's you. And though I falter, I lose control. Your soul pulls me through. Baby, it's you. You know just what to do. You bring me all I could ask for. You give me all that I need. And baby, you gather the pieces. Maybe I'll start to believe. I guess I'll start to believe. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start. Whoa, yeah. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll. I said I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start to believe. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start to believe. I guess I'll start to believe. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Voices for Change 2.0. This is take two. Hopefully we're online right now. We had a little bit of a audio error.
We had what they refer to in the biz as a hiccup. So, yeah. But we are here. We are here. Thanks again for joining us. Well, we're saying thanks again. You guys didn't hear it the first time, but thanks so much for listening to us today and every week. We truly are grateful for you guys tuning in. It means a lot to us. You know, we're flattered, you know, that you tune in, you choose to tune to our humble show. So thank you. What do you want to say?
So talk about our guest for today a little bit.
Okay.
He is an author and a mental health advocate, which many of our guests are, and that's exactly why we're here.
It's kind of right up our alley.
Yeah. It's, you know, we're opening up a dialogue so that mental health advocates can come on our show and talk about the stigma around mental illness and anything else that is mental health related.
Yep, what they've been through, what they do to manage what they go through, new and exciting ideas to help themselves and everybody around them, and just anything and everything mental health related. You know, we try.
That being said, don't forget to tune into our show on Saturday, March 17th. It's a big day for us. We'll be airing a show that we were previously recording with Caitlin Lowell and, well, I guess they're both Balteras now, Caitlin and Tyler Baltera from 16 and Pregnant and Teen Mom. They are just an amazing couple and have both struggled with some mental health issues, and we're very excited that we're going to have them on. So it's going to be a special 2-hour show that day. Mm-hmm. So don't forget to tune in.
Yeah, and if you have any questions for them, please reach out to us on Twitter. You can actually send the questions right to Beck's Twitter account.
And use the hashtag KeepTalkingMH.
Yep, and her hashtag is, or her account is at Becca Lombardo, Beka. So now that we got all that out of the way, let us get to today's business and the wonderful gentleman we have on the line right now.
Yes, again, he's an author and a mental health advocate, and I can't remember how we first got connected, but I know that we've been connected for some time now, and
and there he is.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Joe. Good morning to you guys.
Hey, good morning. Please, everybody, welcome to the show, Mr. Jay Chirino.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be with you guys. And I actually do remember, Rebecca, how we got connected the first time. You were actually trying to do a little bit of promoting for other people out there, and I actually got together with you, and you did a lot of promotion for my book before it was even out. And I greatly appreciate it. I thought you were wonderful, and here we are.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. That's great. So, where does your mental health journey begin?
It begins at the age of 8, almost 9 years old. That's when I really had my first very defined depressive episode where I was, completely frozen for a couple of weeks. I didn't know what was going on with me. And I couldn't even go to school. I mean, life kind of took a downward turn for me at that young age, and it was very hard to understand, obviously, because I was so very young and didn't know what was wrong with me. All I knew was that life had no meaning anymore. I was very sad. I was numb at the same time, and I honestly didn't know what was wrong with me. I was an anxious kid from the very start to begin with, but nothing like that had ever happened to me. And that kind of defined my journey afterwards through my teenage years and even my adult life, through where this depressive episodes and this anxiety became a part of me. And since I didn't really know what was wrong with me, I tried to cope the best that I could with self-medicating and alcohol, drugs, and obviously that never works out. And it just became unbearable to the point where I became hospitalized a couple of times. And, at the end of the day, I think that actually saved my life because it allowed me to figure out what was wrong with me and what I needed to do on a personal level to get better. So it's been many years. Years of working hard and struggling.
Wow. That's something that hit you at that young of an age. A lot of the people that we talk to, and even when Beck went through what she went through, it was later in their adolescent years, their teens or late teens or whatever. So for it to hit you at that young of an age, that must have been just a traumatic experience for you. I'm so sorry.
No, it was, and it's. I think the most difficult part about it, Joe, is that not even your parents really know what's going on. I think there's a lot of ignorance, unfortunately, when it comes to, and we know this, when it comes to mental health issues, and especially in children, because it's kind of hard to define when you're that young, and it's scary for parents to say, "Oh, my 9-year-old kid has a mental health condition," So we tend to kind of look the other way or make excuses or sweep things under the rug to pretend that those things aren't really happening. And, the longer you go without treatment, the longer you go without support, the worse things get. So it's really difficult for a child and for their parents. Especially back in the 80s, when the stigma of mental health was even worse than it is now. And, you weren't mentally ill, you were just sad or melancholy, So it was even more difficult back then.
Yeah, absolutely. You didn't hear about it, back in the 80s. I never did, and I, most of my experience coming into it honestly wasn't until Beck and I had gotten together, and she at that point had already been battling it for 7, 8, 9 years, and was used to the day-to-day battle,
Did you have support from your family and friends? Did you feel supported while you were struggling?
At the beginning, I did. I mean, my parents have always supported me in a way that I cannot imagine anybody else doing, even to present day. They are my strongest support system, and I can honestly say that I wouldn't be alive without their help and support, and I really appreciate it, and, I love them severely, I like to say, because of that. But again, they really didn't know what they were facing. They didn't really know what to do with me, how to act, how to help me out. It was the same thing over and over again of, the one things we hear all the time, you don't have a reason to be sad. You're 9 years old. The world is great for you right now. You're not an adult. You don't have the pressure. What is wrong? Do you not want to go to school? Are you being bullied in school? Are you struggling with math? What's going on? And when I didn't know how to answer those questions, it was like, what to do. And, so years went by like that. And when you don't feel understood, you tend to start hiding those feelings because nobody's going to really understand what you're going through. So why even talk about it? And it was when I became a teenager in my late teens that I started drinking, kind of self-medicating with alcohol to begin with. That things started, to kind of take a downward turn, and my life became kind of like a basketball bouncing all over the place. And that's when kind of they started to realize, okay, there might be some further deeper issues here that we have to look at, going further. So, it's hard. It's hard to deal with that stigma and that ignorance. And that's why I aim to, especially educate parents when it comes to their kids and seeing some of the signs that, could give you a hint of maybe there's something going on here that we haven't touched on yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, the ignorance that abounds with it. I still see it. I've got a friend of mine on Facebook that I think like last week had posted something about unseen illnesses, and this thing covered more than just, depression and bipolar and all that, even covered, fibromyalgia and, just different things, things that aren't readily obvious. And I had responded to this, and I said, it's exhausting battling these things and battling the stigma and all this stuff. I had a decent little response, and he finally responded back to it today. And it kind of upsetting because it was a little bit of an ignorant response. And he's like, at first glance, it doesn't seem like it's all that bad. But then right afterward, he wrote, I did say at first glance. And just the thing that I'm thinking reading that is, dude, you don't know, You really don't. And so to say something like that is just, it's like saying, oh, cancer isn't that bad at first glance.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's tough, John. I agree with you 100%. And the way that I look at it, because I've tried to understand, the people that haven't gone through it, how do they see it and why do they see the way or things the way they see them? And, the way that I think about it is I'm 34 years old. I've been lucky enough to have never broken a bone in my life. So when somebody explains to me the horrific pain of breaking your leg or breaking an arm, I honestly can't relate to it because I haven't been through it. I know it hurts like hell, but I can't, in my head, I can't imagine, I can't really foresee, I can't feel, because we have pain memory, right? So whenever we go back to an instance of our lives when we felt, terrific pain, whether physically or mentally, we can kind of, get back into that zone and kind of almost cringe at the feeling that gets back over our bodies of that pain that we felt. I cannot relate to breaking a bone because I never felt it, but I do know it hurts. And I think that a lot of people that haven't really experienced severe mental illness, I kind of go through the same thing. I have that ignorance because they cannot relate to the pain and to the struggle that we go through. And it's so easy for them to kind of, whenever they feel sad or, whatever other feeling they may be having, maybe to switch and to make the effort to feel better. And they think that it could be as easy for us to do that when it's not. When sometimes the biggest thing we want is to kind of, move forward and keep going, and our illness won't let us do that. It won't let us move. It kind of freezes us in time, and it gets us stuck there, and people don't realize, well, why don't you get out of bed? What? Just go outside. I love that sense. Just go outside. Look at the sunshine. Walk around for a little bit. And when you tell them, I just don't have the energy to do that, believe me, I wish I would be soaking in the sun in the beach right now. But just thinking about it makes me exhausted. It's kind of really hard for them to grasp and comprehend that because they've never been through it.
Right. That's very true. So what inspired you to come forward and tell your story, Jay?
It was actually, it's funny because sometimes, the worst things that maybe can happen to you in life can evolve into really good things if you let them, and when I lost my marriage and I became even more depressed than I was, and I went into a depressive, addictive, kind of, self-destructive spiral that ended in being, admitted to the hospital and to the psych ward. And when I was in the hospital, I felt that I had nothing, that my life couldn't go any worse, and I was in a very serious state of just wanting to give up and just, I don't even know how to explain it. It was the worst time of my life for sure. And in the week that I was there, I started meeting people that probably were worse off than I was. I had no families, people that were homeless, people that had more severe illnesses that I did probably. Every single one of them with a different story, every single one of them with a different struggle, every single one of them seeing life in their own way and their own world. And I don't know why, but instead of seeing the negative and all of that, I saw a lot of positive, and I was inspired by these people that were really, champions and surviving. Because they had gone through so many things and were still going through so many things that just the fact that they were alive was a huge undertaking in my eyes. And they really inspired me not to just talk about my story, but to kind of share their story as well, because I felt lucky enough that I got to walk out of the hospital and kind of continue on with my life. But at the same time, I almost felt guilty knowing that some of them wouldn't, that some of them would continue their journey maybe in that hospital, or maybe, never being able to move forward with their lives because of their severe conditions. And I felt a deep responsibility to share their stories and to make them known as human beings, and and that's why a lot of people ask me, well, why is your book called The Flawed Ones? I don't really feel like mentally ill people are flawed. And I completely agree with that 100%. When I talk about the flawed ones in the book, I refer to humanity as a whole and how we're flawed in every aspect, whether we have mental illnesses or not. And in some way we're flawed. We're flawed even in seeing the flaws in other people. We're not do a very good job at doing that. So I wanted to reflect those people as human beings and nothing more, just like you and I, and to inspire others to look at themselves as that as well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful. Well, speaking of beautiful, we're going to take a break, and we're going to play "Beautiful" by David Hernandez.
We'll be right back.
We will be right back. Keep listening.
Father in the sky, and they're starting to align. I see you passing by, and we're slowing down the time. Now my love is flashing by, all I see is flashing lights. 'Cause you're right here by my side, can you feel it come alive? If this were a love song, would you be mine? I just can't get you off of my mind, and I think about you all day and night. So I wrote you a love song, wrote you a love song. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. From the moment that we touched, no, nothing could stop the rush. You always pick me up, pick me up, pick me up. Now I'm feeling so much love, and I just can't get enough. Come on, lift me up, lift me up, lift me up. If this were a love song, would you be mine? I just can't get you off of my mind, and I think about you all day and night. So I wrote you a love song, wrote you a love song. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. Tonight, it's just you and I. We're on fire, no one burns it brighter. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. I think you're beautiful, so damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yes, I think you're beautiful. So tonight, it's just you and I. We're on fire, no one burns it brighter. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. Baby, you're beautiful.
Hey, welcome back to Voices for Change 2.0. I'm Joe. The beautiful lady sitting next to me is Rebecca. And if you're just tuning in, we are currently talking to Mr. Jay Chirino, an author and mental health advocate. He authored the book, The Flawed Ones, and we're just talking with him about said book. And where can people find your book, Jay?
Hey guys, yeah, you can go on Amazon and it's available there. You can also go to my website, theflawedones.com, and you'll find a link to the Amazon page there. I think that's probably the easiest way to find it. And I also have a blog on the website where I talk mental health issues as well and share mental health news and kind of keep everybody in the loop of what's going on, as well as, some of my thoughts and some of the things that I would like to see mental health related in the near future. So, yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff that you can find there.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So how has addiction impacted your overall mental health status?
Tremendously. I started probably drinking heavily when I was 16 years old. As soon as I kind of started driving and being able to hang out with friends, on my own. And you know how it is, you find a way to kind of get alcohol any way you can, or somebody has a fake ID, or, whatever it may be, you start kind of that party mentality. And from very early on, I noticed that I wasn't like the other kids or like the friends that I was hanging out with, to where, everybody kind of took it one way, and to me it meant something else. Most of the people that I was hanging out with, they were just using it to have a good time, where I was just, have found this miracle substance that kind of made my sadness and my pain go away. And I ended up overdoing it every single time. And, even the ones that surrounded me noticed that, okay, you're taking it too far, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
So, and after that, and after I was able to find my own alcohol and kind of, do my own thing, it wasn't meant to be a party thing. To come home and then start drinking on my own, just to kind of, numb the pain and numb the feelings. And it became a go-to kind of thing on a daily basis just to make it through the day. And obviously when you start doing that, life doesn't get better, it gets worse. And, it became a real trouble when I started losing jobs and not being able to hold a relationship and, kind of alienating myself and just doing it more and more and more. And just life became meaningless. It the only meaning that I had in life was the next drink. And, it severely affected me for many, many years.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I'm very glad that you were able to see that and to, get help, because, I don't talk about it a lot, but my brother that passed away in 2012 passed away from addiction to alcohol. He was addicted my entire life, and he died in a really sad and, just horrific way. And, unfortunately it happened to be on my birthday, so.
Yeah, happy birthday.
So
yeah.
Thanks.
So anytime I hear anyone struggling with addiction, I just, I can't help but be concerned for them. But I'm really glad that you personally have found, a way out of it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
not
easy. It's not easy at all, guys, and it's a daily struggle. It's not something. It's kind of like mental health overall, where it's just not something that you cure and you just move on with your life. It's constant management, constant work, and when I first started, you have your hiccups here and there, and you can still fall down from time to time, and that's why I think it's important to let those people that are going through the addictive cycle and that are struggling, because I remember when I used to relapse, I thought that it was, that I was worthless. It was the end of the world. Why keep going? I'm going to fail anyways. I'm a failure anyways. Just keep doing what you're doing. Nobody cares. You're going to fail no matter what. And I think that, it's important to send a message out to those people struggling that, falling down, it's part of the process. You need to keep getting back up no matter what. It's worth it, and you can actually get out of it, and you can actually get better. Don't stay down. That's the most important thing when it comes to addiction. You can't stay down. You fall down, get yourself back up, and keep going. And, sometimes that's, in my experience, that was the most difficult thing to do, because it messes with your self-esteem and with your confidence on yourself. Which is a trivial thing to be able to battle addiction,
Exactly. It reminds me of that that quote that got around from that last Rocky movie of all things, where Stallone says that bit about, it's how hard life can knock you down and you still keep getting back up. I wish to God I could remember the exact wording now, but it's very true, and it's a struggle. Everybody has that battle on one level or another. And, when you're battling, an addiction, or you're battling, depression or some other kind of mental health issue, it's that much more of a battle. And, people that don't have it, again, they look at those that are afflicted and they're like, well, why are you so exhausted? Well, when you're battling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you're going to be a little tired. You know?
Yep.
So.
Yep. It definitely takes a special type of strength to be able to handle the things that a lot of us go through. It's funny because I related to, I have an office job. I sit in a desk all day and I do several things. And a lot of my friends that actually do, kind of work outside in construction or whatnot, they're like, Jay, why are you so tired after the end of the day? You sit in an AC, air-conditioned office all day. And I'm like, sometimes the mental exhaustion is actually, it translates into physical tiredness as well, and you become exhausted mentally and physically for the job that you do. And then on top of that, you take, and you add in the mental health struggle and the addiction struggle and the fact that you have to be on your toes, constantly. It can definitely become an exhausting job just to kind of stay alive and moving throughout the day, and not staying in bed, kind of, trying to regain the energy,
Exactly.
Yeah. So you actually, I wanted to go back a little bit about your book. You actually had a stay in a mental health facility that led to you writing the book. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Now, how did you feel as if when you were there you were getting help? Was it a positive experience, a negative experience?
Overall, of course, when you enter the psych ward, you are completely defeated. The sadness that was over me, the disdain of, I don't even know how to explain it. It was the lowest level that I'd ever been in my life. So when I walked through those doors, I was feeling completely, done with life. I thought that was the end of the rope. And before that, I had, with my addictions and stuff, I had been hospitalized before, but I don't know why the last day kind of really changed me, and I think it had to do with the people that I became surrounded by and the help that I got, and I got really lucky that I found the hospital doctor that was, on duty through that week that saw me. Really did something that I had never had any doctor do before, unfortunately, and that was take the time to really understand what I was saying. She really listened to me, whereas I don't know, and I'm sure you guys have had the experience when it comes to psychiatry, unfortunately, it's a medicate first kind of job, and then let's see what happens, and if it doesn't work, we'll medicate you with something else. And it's kind of like a trial and error kind of thing where you can spend years trying to figure out what's going to work for you or not, years that you're really, really hurting. And I was very surprised that this doctor really took the time, having so many patients, having so many things to deal with in the hospital environment. She really took the time to listen to me and to ask questions and to, really understand where I was coming from. And to medicate me right. And, it's been a few years now, and I'm still on the same medication that she prescribed to me, which is crazy to me. That's still working from that very time. Because my experience before that wasn't that. I was doing a lot of trial and error with different medications. Doctors, you didn't want to listen to you. They had a waiting room full of patients. So it was, come on, what do you have? Anxiety? Here you go, Xanax. What do you have? And it was kind of like like a volume business to me. That's how I felt. And, I honestly got to say that the hospital stay in more ways than one changed my life for the better. And something that I saw as a negative experience when I was there now is the turning point, in my life that I see that completely changed and allowed me to evolve into the person that I am today. Still flawed, still with mental illness, still battling a lot of things, but now aware, now aware of the ways that the things that I need to do, the routes that I need to take, the things that challenge me and how to fight them, when before then I was completely lost and unaware of what I needed to do. It completely changed my life. This book came out of it, and, I'm completely thankful for that time in my life that allowed me to become the person that I am today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great to hear
great.
because, there's not a lot of positivity around mental health facilities these days. And I know even from my own personal experience, my recent experience, it wasn't a positive one at all. So it's great to hear when people are successful.
And oddly enough, your book came out of that too.
Yeah, and my book
It did.
That too. That's right.
Yeah.
It did. And I will never forget something that one of the girls that was in there said. She's actually featured in the book a lot. And she told me, Jay, how can they be doctors when they don't have compassion? Compassion should be the very first thing that a doctor has, right? Because they do it for the patient's well-being, you would think. And that kind of stuck with me, I think that's something that psychiatry lacks, unfortunately. And I don't know why the reason is. I don't know if we don't have enough doctors and they're overwhelmed with how many patients they have, or a lot of them just do it for the income of, they follow a culture of just medicating first. I really don't know the reason yet why a lot of, or most of the psychiatrists out there don't have the compassion that they need to display towards their patients, especially with mental health when, sometimes we just need to be heard and we just need to know that, we're understood one way or the other and that we are going to get the support that we need. And that's the least that we find out there with doctors, unfortunately. So that has to change. I think that has to change in the future if we want to get, succeeding with mental health issues, and we need to keep moving in the right direction. Doctors, a lot of doctors and a lot of mental health facilities and a lot of hospitals need to change the approach that they have right now towards it in order for us to continue getting better and more successful at it.
I agree with you, and I was going to say, when you were saying, I'm not sure if it's that they're overwhelmed. I'm not sure if it's, that they're in it for just the money. With the whole lack of compassion thing. I think it's a combination of all of that, really. I think some of them all they care about is the dollar signs. I think some of them, they're medicating first because they're getting the kickbacks from, the big pharmaceutical companies. I think some of them are legitimately overwhelmed. They're good doctors, but there's such a lack of professionals out there that they get overwhelmed. There are good doctors out there. Please don't misunderstand us, those of us that are listening. Beck's got a great doctor, and she listens and she's compassionate.
But it took me over 20 years to find her.
It took her over 20 years to find her. And that can be, that's the reality is you go through doctor after doctor after doctor until you find the perfect fit, and it's no different than being in a relationship. You go out, you're dating people until you find the one, and some of us, we find it really quick. Some of us, it can take a few years. Some of us never find it,
Yep. And that's unfortunate, that and Rebecca's, story, it's not, a one person thing. It happens more often than people think, where this, there's some patients that go 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. That it makes me so sad to even think about that somebody will struggle 30, 40 years and not have any hope, or having tried what they thought was everything out there, and still struggle without, finding the right solution for them. It has to be excruciating, and I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, you know. So what do you guys think? Let me ask, what do you guys think needs to change to begin with in the mental health industry to kind of alleviate some of that pain and to kind of, make it better for patients to find help a little bit sooner? Have you guys, do you guys think something could change in the near future, or it's just going to be go through the motions and see what happens?
Do you want to take that one, or you want me to?
Take it.
All right. I think there's a lot of different avenues that need to come together for real change. I think some of it needs to be in the world of education, in the schools. I mean, you hear about the school shootings and whatnot, and right away one of the first things they point at is mental illness, and the shooter had this and the shooter had that, and I
half the time they have no proof.
Yeah, half the time they have no proof. It's because they can't reconcile the fact that sometimes a person is just evil. And I truly believe that. I think sometimes a person is just evil. I hate to say that, and sometimes it's, a lot of times it is people that need help, and that help really needs to be put out there. I think instead of arming teachers, they need to get more counselors in the schools, get more, so if they're going to spend money arming teachers, I'd rather they spent the money providing the teachers with everything they actually needed to do their jobs well, and better staffing the schools, so that the nurses in the schools aren't just an urgent care, different things like that, having, counselors be more interactive with the kids, starting at an earlier age to help
teaching them about mental illness at an early age.
Exactly. Making that required learning. They have, civics classes and social studies and math and science as required studies, and I think that needs to carry through to health, mental health, other physical health and stuff, and I remember, when we were in junior high, it being a battle just to get a week of sex ed, because people have their own stigmatizations about that. It needs to be addressed there. It needs to be the item of compassion needs to be taught in medical schools. These teachers these doctors and potential doctors, they need to have the understanding of, look, this is more than just a paycheck. You can make a lot of money, but, you have to have true compassion for what people are going through. It can't be a cattle call, which right now that's what it is. Let's face it, in the healthcare industry, in the insurance industry especially, they're only going to pay for so much. And this goes back to my personal feelings on universal healthcare, and that's a whole other can of worms that I don't want to get into. But, it really needs to be, if we want to really see people get help, then the effort has to be there. It can't be just lip service, which right now is what we get. It's what we get from politicians. It's what we get from insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. If they truly want to help people, if they truly want to break the stigma and get people the help they really truly need, so that people that are afflicted aren't afraid to come forward and say, hey, I need help, then it needs to be more than lip service. And right now that's what we're getting. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more, Joe. With everything that's happening at the schools, going back to what you were saying about the school system and education, and I think about how much I would have gotten, how much better I would have been off if I would have gotten the help that I needed earlier on, if I would have been educated earlier on, if my parents would have been educated earlier on. and how many things I could have avoided as a child, being aware of, some of the mental health issues that some of us go through. And I personally, seeing everything that's going on in school right now and in society, as a father myself, I have a 13-year-old son, it absolutely terrifies me. Not because of what's happening shooting-wise, but because these kids have no support whatsoever in the school system. Just like you were saying, they're not aware of mental health support. They're not aware of, figuring out or seeing the signs of a mental health illness or a mental health problem. We talk a lot about the mental health issues that maybe the shooter had or probably had, but we don't talk about the mental health condition that the other kids are left with. The anxiety, the fear,
Exactly.
My 13-year-old son came to me and he was like, Dad, I'm scared of going to school now. That brings about a lot of anxiety. How are these kids leading with the anxiety after a tragedy like that happens? Are they getting the right counseling? Are they getting the right help? Is that going to lead to them developing some mental health issues, some addictive issues? Are we concentrating too much on, the gun situation and not seeing what's going on mentally with these kids? Our parents talking to the kids, at home about what's going on. Are they processing their emotions? Are they processing their feelings or bottling them up? I don't see a lot of talk about that. And it sometimes infuriates me because, we need to be paying attention to all these things that could potentially develop into something dangerous later on. And, not only as a father, but as a child of depression and mental health issues, I think we need to be advocating a lot more for our children. Children that are getting bullied not only at school, but now in social media. Children that don't know how to communicate face-to-face anymore. There's so many things in our society that we're not tackling head-on that could lead into developing, mental health problems and anxiety issues and addiction issues that I definitely think we need to be looking at a lot deeper than we are right now.
I agree. I agree. They talk, like you mentioned, they talk about the mental health of the shooter, but how many of these kids now are going to be battling PTSD the rest of their lives?
Absolutely.
Nobody thinks of that. Nobody thinks of that. I have yet to hear that get brought up. And, the thing, too, is yesterday up, here in Michigan at Central Michigan University, there was another shooting. That's the 20th shooting. That's the 20th shooting this year. I'm talking in 2018. We're barely into March and we've had 20 school shootings already. This needs to change. It really does.
It really does, and I think, like you guys were saying, it's not a one thing fix all kind of deal. We have to look at several things, and we have to pay attention to a lot of things at once to be able to really tackle this issue head on and be successful doing it.
Exactly. Where are we going from here, baby? Okay. So let's see. In your opinion, what do we need to do going forward?
A lot of things, but, I think that the biggest thing, and I really respect you guys for doing what you're doing, because I don't know a lot of people, if any, that do more mental health advocacy and awareness than you two. I see Rebecca online just, every single day sharing, tweeting, advocating, and that's something that I truly respect. And I think that there's a huge movement of, people, especially in social media, that realize that awareness is key for us to move forward and get better at the mental health thing. And I think that's the most important thing, to educate, to create awareness, to erase the stigma, to really make mental health a condition just like anything else. Nobody is afraid to say I have diabetes because, there's no stigma with it. It should be the same thing with mental health. We shouldn't discriminate. We shouldn't stigmatize. We shouldn't, and that all comes with awareness. I think that ignorance brings fear, and people are afraid of that, what they don't know, and that what they don't know how kind of comprehend or kind of put together in their own words. And I think that education and awareness will gradually change that. And you know, a lot of people, you know, you guys are leading the forefront in that, and a lot of people behind are doing the same thing. And I think that in the few years that we continue to put this effort forward, a lot of things are going to change, and we're going to start looking at things very differently if we keep putting forth this effort. So I think that we need to do that. We need to look at the mental health industry as well, just like we were talking about. You know, psychiatrists doing things differently. We need to look at educating our kids earlier on about mental health, because if they start learning about mental health in their early years, they're not going to be afraid of it when they become adults, and they're not going to be afraid of talking to their kids about mental health. So, you know, if we do those three things primarily, you know, raise awareness, change the mental health industry, and, you know, start educating from the early years, I think we have a shot at really improving our mental health conditions in the near future and helping a lot more people out as well.
Good answer.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what, you know, we've got to wrap up here pretty soon, but what advice do you personally have for someone that is, you know, at a young age and struggling, or for the parents of someone that is struggling?
Especially for the parents, I would tell them to really open up the lines of communication without judgment. You know, a lot of the things that we get, especially our kids, is people trying to diagnose us when they don't know what the heck they're saying. You know, oh, you're probably just, you know, your school's just probably too hard. You're just being lazy. You know, they try to come up with something that makes sense in their minds before actually trying to understand what their kids are telling them. You know, and I think that the most important things for parents to understand is that there may be something behind the curtain that you don't understand, that you don't comprehend. Open up the lines of communication and listen very carefully. And let your kids feel comfortable telling you what they're going through. You know, let them be comfortable opening up to you, because that gives you the ability of taking as much information in and then finding the right help and finding the right support and actually finding someone that truly knows how to comprehend and make sense of what that kid is saying. You know, so in the parents, you know, arena, I think that's the most important thing. Communicating and allowing your kids to communicate. I think a lot of parents go days without really talking to their kids. They have work, they come from work, they're tired, their kid is on the computer or on social media. They don't talk, the parents don't talk, and things are just building up, and they don't even know what's building up. They don't even know what's coming, you know. So communicating with the children is really important. And as far as the kids is concerned, do not be afraid to open up. Do not be afraid to seek support. Do not be afraid to say, hey, something may be wrong here. You know, something may be wrong with me, and I need to find a way to get help for it. You know, do not be afraid to do that. There's a lot of us out there just like you. There's a lot of support out there that you can get. You don't have to be afraid of your condition. You just have to seek help for it. And you'll see that life can dramatically benefit you and change for the better if you do that.
Agreed.
Good advice.
It really is.
Solid.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
So what's next for you, Jay?
What's next? That's a good question. I've been asking myself that question as of lately as well. You know, I've actually I've started writing a little bit more. You know, I continue to advocate for mental health as much as I can. There's a lot of people that have reached out for support, and I greatly appreciate the fact that, you know, people seeing me someone that can understand a little bit better of their situation. I've given away a lot of my book, you know, because I didn't do it for the money to begin with. So the people that really need it, you know, and they really want to read something that they can actually relate to and find some hope in, reach out to me. I don't have a problem giving you a free copy of my book. I actually, you know, advise you to do so. And I've been writing a little bit more about other conditions and trying to learn a little bit more about maybe conditions, mental health related, that I don't relate with, you know, but that other people do. And I want to understand that a little bit better so I can reach out to people that, you know, I've been looking a lot into, you know, maybe self-harm and, you know, like eating disorders and things like that. And I've been trying to understand their perspective as well. so that maybe I can share more information with people that are going through struggles like that, and continue to help and spread awareness. I think that's the most important thing.
Wow, yeah, I think that's a really good call. Looking into other afflictions that maybe you're not dealing with. That's one thing that has been kind of interesting for us with this show is because we talk to different mental health advocates all across the spectrum, and you talk with people like the experience that I have is mainly with what Beck has gone through, right? So finding out about other things like DID, for example, it's fascinating. It's heartbreaking for the people that go through it, and you get a better understanding of where they're coming from, and it really does. It's education. It goes back to education. Everything with this goes back to education, and if we're all truly going to be mental health advocates and advocate for change, then we need to take the time to look at what everything that's out there, not just what you're specifically experiencing, So that's great that you're doing that, I hope that you see, continued success with that, and hopefully we'll get another book out of you from you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I hope so. I've been writing a lot lately and trying to, kind of tackle certain, like I said, other things. And I agree with you guys completely that education needs to be at the forefront of everything. And, kind of learning a little bit more about other conditions and what other people go through and seeing how we can help them out is crucial as well. And I think that if we keep fighting the good fight, at the end of the day, we're going to be able to succeed.
Exactly.
So where can people find you on social media?
On social media, on Twitter at The Flawed Ones. You can find me on Instagram as well. Facebook. Those are the main three that I utilize most of the time, either under Jay Chirino or under the Flawed Ones page. And you can find me, again, on my blog and website at theflawedones.com. And feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always very happy to hear from people that want to read my book or that have read it, or people that need a little bit of advice. Again, I'm not a mental health professional. I can only give you advice based on the little bit that I know and that I have gone through. And I always encourage everybody that if they're going through a mental health situation to seek professional help. But the support is always needed as well, and I'm always more than happy to share a little bit of my experiences, give a lot of support, and hopefully, help anybody become a part of this online community that I really appreciate and that I know can do a lot of good.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, that's we're at our time for today, Jay. Thank you again so much for being with us today. I think it's been a great show. We've talked about a lot of great things, and go out, pick up Jay's book, The Flawed Ones, at your local Amazon, because that's kind of where we're at in life.
That's right.
And again, it's called The Flawed Ones. And thanks so much for taking the time with us today, Jay. We're happy to have had you, and we're going to end the show with Levi Christ with So Much Better.
Thank you, guys. I'm honored to be here.
Have a good one, everybody.
Ooh, roll the top down. Let's take an afternoon drive. I've been working too hard. I want to leave it all behind me. Pushing and pulling, yeah, the world keeps spinning around and around. But I go with the flow. Nobody gonna get me down. You got to tell you the secret about the way that love's gonna be. It's a super sexy, conscious, cosmological ecstasy. Getting hold of me, and it's so much better now. just stop and take a look around. Let your body unwind. You see, you got everything you want. You just gotta open up your eyes. Sing it, holding over something when there's nothing that you can do to change it. Just let it go with the flow. Get about your business doing you. Say I tell you a little secret how to make it only history. Oh, it's a super sexy, conscious, cosmological ecstasy. Get it hold of me. It's so much better, so much better now. Baby love, don't you know that it's so much better, so much better now. Feels good to let it go. And it's so much better, so much better now. Baby love, don't you know that it's so much better, so much better now. And it feels good to let it go. Yeah, yeah, feels good to let it go. Yeah, may I tell you a little secret how to make it on easy street. It's a super sexy, conscious, cosmological ecstasy. Get it hold of me. And it's so much better now. Baby love, don't you know that it's so much better now. It feels good to let it go. And it's so much better now. Baby love, don't you know that it's so much better now. Said it feels good to let it go. Oh, it feels good to let it go.
Don't miss the Mental Health Memoir of the Year, It's Not Your Journey. It's Not Your Journey is the true story of one woman's 20-year battle with mental illness and her recovery from a suicide attempt in 2013. Rebecca Lombardo candidly reveals her real and raw emotions in dealing with depression, bipolar disorder, the loss of her mother and brother, and more. Pick it up today on Amazon.com or visit www.RebeccaLombardo.com for more information.
Join us next week as Rebecca and Joe continue to battle the stigma of mental illness. Follow us on Twitter at Voices for Change RJ and on Facebook at Voices for Change 2.0.